Is play action dead? Why are blocking tight ends making Timofey Mozgov money at this point? And will the Eagles offense actually function?
Gotta get my hamstrings loose before you go deep.
All these questions and more will be answered today on NFL Pro.
Coach, you feel the juice, Coach? You feel the juice? It's awesome.
It's our first time doing this, like literally our first video together on the channel. Originally, we were going to start on September 4th with our season preview episode, but you guys are very loud and you wanted something earlier. So, Trevor, here we are.
Dude, I'm so excited for this, and you're right. This episode is 100% for the people, by the people, because this is a Q&A episode that we're doing. You and I tweeted out, hey, we know that you guys are excited for the NFL Pro concept that we have coming this year, and we would love to just hear some ideas from you guys. And Brett, I figured, we'd get a couple, but we hadn't even launched the show yet, so people didn't exactly know what it was about. Brother, the floods of questions that we got, we're obviously not even going to be able to get to all of them today, but don't worry, everybody. We saw all of them. We've already got the Google Doc going on for the evergreen content to go back to some of these episodes and some of these topics, because hopefully you guys get a little taste of the things that we're capable of and how we get to break things down from a film perspective, from an NGS perspective. But yeah, buddy, I'm excited to launch this show here with you.
First, Trevor, I want to put you at odds with a former Tampa Bay Buccaneers coaching legend. Tell me why you disagree with John Gruden.
Okay, yes. So the first question that we have here today that we want to dig into, this one comes from Tampa Bay sports fan. It says, Gruden has spoken recently about how teams essentially have banned play action from their playbooks, and it's now a thing of the past, being replaced by RPOs. Do you think that this is accurate, and why? Is it to simplify the games for young quarterbacks who don't do this in college? And I think there is a little bit towards, the second part of that tweet, Brett. And when you look at the reason why play action and RPOs are even a thing, I think fundamentally they're a little different, right? I think that RPO work is for the quarterback. I think that play action work is something that happens to the defense. So I think that they're a little bit different. It's not necessarily an apples to apples, but obviously these are two things that you sort of do at the beginning of the play. And I think that they've got different roots, but you're kind of trying to get the same result, and that is making things simpler. When it comes to RPOs, though, this, it is a quicker type of offense, right? If you look at the last 3 years, so a little bit bigger of a sample size, the median time to throw for an RPO, 1.63 seconds. So you are snapping the football, you're reading with the RPO, and then the ball's coming out of your hands. Like, it's a bubble screen, it's a slant, it's something. It's a lot of quick game stuff, but play action's totally different. When you look at the median number of time to throw through play action, it's 3.27. 1.63 and 3.27 when it comes to time to throw, you're talking about completely different plays here. So I don't really agree with John Gruden, of course, all due respect. I don't really agree with what he's saying, because I don't think they're really replacing one another, and I don't think the numbers really showed that either. There was a little bit of a dip in total teams that were kind of running a lot of play action, right? Because I went into NGS and I said, okay, give me the teams that ran at least 100 play action plays last season. And I did that for every season, Brett, going back to 2016. 2016, it was 5. 2017, it was 9. And then we got into double digits. It was 10, 11, 11, 14, 10, all the way to 2022. 2023 and 2024, which I think maybe is the reason why this question was asked, 7 and 7 both of those years. Again, we're talking about teams that ran at least 100 play action snaps. But in 2025, it was 12. So it kind of goes into the NFL getting a little bit more towards their 2006 heavier era, like you said, the people absolutely love. But I also I don't really think that statement is true. And I think that, yes, younger quarterbacks like to operate in sort of that shotgun world where everything's in front of them. Because if you think about true play action, right, you're turning your back to the line of scrimmage.
They never do it.
Right, and that's the thing. They're not asked to do it in college, because a lot of these college coaches, they're just trying to get kids to move the ball like as fast as possible. And in the NFL, you go, okay, snap the football, you turn your back to the play, then you have to turn your back around. Now you're looking at the defense for the first time. Sure, you saw things pre-snap, but we live in a defensive world where almost nothing stays the same pre to post snap. So you're evaluating things. That's why the time to throw is so much longer. yes, some teams like to operate in a quicker offense, so like RPOs can maybe replace play action a little bit because RPOs are still manipulating the defense in certain ways. But to me, Brad, I just think the offenses are just different. Sort of what is the expected result with RPOs versus play action, to where I don't agree with this statement just because I think fundamentally they are different things. And I believe that we're going to see here in 2026, play action is still going to be a major part of what we see half of the league do. I'd be surprised if that 12 number of teams that ran 100 play action plays last year isn't bigger this year. So,
it almost certainly will be.
That's what I'm saying. So I think that, yes, RPO offenses as opposed to play action offenses help younger QBs when they're starting quickly, but ultimately, I think a lot of teams are going to want to continue to use play action. I don't see this as banning play action from playbooks. I just don't think that that's a thing.
Well, I mean, if we're looking at the origin of this, it's the difference between the college and the NFL rulebook. This is something that people don't realize. Like, yes, we know the hashes are wider in college, which then means that if the ball's spotted on a hash, right, you have way more space to the field side, which is going to encourage, things like screens and all the stuff that really attacks laterally more so than vertically, because the field, it's not wider in totality, but there's more workable space. The rule that people don't realize exists is specifically for RPOs. Linemen can get 3 yards downfield in college before they're ineligible. In the NFL, it's 1. So obviously you're going to completely take advantage of that in college and have centers and guards 3 yards past the line of scrimmage because it's still legal, right? And, the RPO rate in the NFL, I think, is like 3 to 3.5 times lower, maybe even 4 times lower than in college because of that. Because you're just going to get flagged for an eligible receiver if you try to do it as much as they do in college. The screen rate's lower as well.
Which I think goes right into the next question that we had, which is all about the Eagles' offense, right? I mean, like, this is from Mr. H. A lot of talk about how the Eagles are changing schemes to help develop Hurts. I know a lot of people are talking about that right now with Sean Mannion, their offensive coordinator. What ways can they pivot depending on how that goes? So I know that you've studied and you've seen a lot of Sean Mannion's offense, so I'll let you kind of spearhead this question because I know you got a lot more expertise in that area.
So I've spent all summer studying this because Eagles fans, I mean, they're excited, but they're also nervous, as you've heard.
Right.
And this is going to be a pretty drastic departure from what they're used to, right? It wasn't that long ago, just a couple years ago, when their total play count for the season in terms of under center play action was 5. Last year, the Rams did it 217 times. So they're entering an entire new world here. And so if we look at, okay, what are Sean Mannion's influences? What can we anticipate this is going to look like? Obviously played under Sean McVay with the Rams while he was also kind of rewiring Jared Goff at the time.
Right.
He was Jared Goff's backup. Goff came out of the air raid. They called it the bear raid at Cal. So he was learning how to do under center play action. And now Goff does it second only to like Stafford, basically, in the entire league, like especially with Ben Johnson, they did it all the time. And so he kind of got some of McVay's philosophy from playing under McVay in terms of the importance of under center play action. But really his main influences are going to be from the Gary Kubiak side of the Shanahan-Kubiak tree, which McVay is kind of an offshoot of. There's like a little mix of John Gruden in there, but it's a topic for another day. But if you're looking at
all part of the all-star Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The
NFL runs through Tampa Bay, Florida.
I've often said this.
But if you're looking at where he went to after McVay, he went to Minnesota. Right, Gary Kubiak was obviously involved in Minnesota there, assistant head coach. Kevin Stefanski was the offensive coordinator, worked with Gary there, and then left and then came back to Minnesota, where his OC was Clint Kubiak, Gary's son, now head coach of the Raiders. And then he went from there, ended up coaching under Matt LaFleur, who, by the way, former Gary Kubiak assistant with the Texans in the late 2000s. That was when Kyle Shanahan was the OC, Mike McDaniel was there. So you can see how this whole cabal formed around Tampa Bay and Houston in the 2000s. And so the Gary Kubiak side is really his main influence, which back then, in the late 2000s, it looked something like this, right? This is Texans tape. We're using it here on NFL Pro. Simply because we can, why not? And it looked like this, right? It's naked bootlegs off a wide zone action. You've got Andre Johnson running down the field. It's actually a pretty well-covered play, but when you have Andre Johnson, who's 230 pounds and runs high 4.3, low 4.4, you're going to throw it anyway, and he's probably going to come down with it. You know, one of the byproducts of this style is that it's going to cut the field in half. Like, you're really only working half the field. You have limited receivers down the field, so it better work, which is why you kind of need an Andre Johnson.
Caught! And that's a gain of 52.
Then you get to Sean Mannion as a player under Clint Kubiak, Gary's son. Clint and especially Matt LaFleur really believed in kind of varying up the types of actions in their offense. So it wasn't just wide zone that led to a boot. You have stuff like this where, okay, we're running a counter action, and the pull key from the guard is going to move the linebackers to one direction. And we're going to have the angle of the back, the angle of departure of the back, keep those linebackers flowing in that direction. This tight end's looking like he's advancing up to the Mike linebacker. It just looks like a counter run 10 times out of 10. And then he boots off of it. The tight end slips through. It's 24 yards on a deep cross, easy peasy. But again, the field is cut in half. This is one of the limitations here. So if this like deep post or deep cross, if that comes open for a touchdown, but you're booting the other way, you can't really make that throw all the way back across the field unless you have like a Josh Allen arm. Like, you have no shot. And what we've seen McVay with the Rams and LaFleur do a lot, which again, Mannion was just coaching under LaFleur, is they believe in play action off of man blocking concepts, like just vertical drops that keeps you in the pocket and able to access every blade of grass. We are not cutting the field in half. And if we look at this touchdown to Christian Watson, this was in 2024. Mannion was an assistant there under LaFleur.
Love looking deep on first down. He's got a man out there. Wide open Watson for a Packer touchdown.
Look at how every single receiver is available to Jordan Love here. He can hit this deep dig. He can hit either check down in the flat. If this guy wants to pivot, he can go to the flat. Like, he can hit anybody here. But again, because he's not booting and his feet are set, if he sees this alert post to Watson open, he can just hit it, and he does for a touchdown. So that's really what we're seeing evolve here in the play action game. It's not just wide zone and boots off wide zone and cutting the field in half. It's no, we are having the quarterback do a hard play action fake and be in the pocket so we can work the entire field. And that's what I think is going to be interesting to watch with Jalen Hurts as the season goes on. I think they're going to start off doing the boot game, the easy stuff that just manufactures completions, cuts the field in half. Right. As the year goes on, we're going to see them do full field stuff off play action, and that's the true test, because the best offenses in the Shanahan, Kubiak, cinematic universe are the ones that access every blade of grass. We'll see if they can get there.
Jalen's been awesome. You know, I really think he can do anything we ask of him. He's accurate. He's a great athlete.
Yeah, no, I'm fascinated to see, you know, Jalen Hurts' progression throughout the season, because I agree with you. I think that there's going to be a lot of takes on the Eagles offense early on, just because there always is. Everybody's very excited for the new football season, especially when you have changes at coordinator and quarterback and things like that. But I do agree with you. Like, this is going to be an offense that's supposed to evolve, and ideally they would like for it to evolve to the end of the year, but sometimes it takes an evolution, you know, multiple years. Maybe it's something that, like, okay, now it takes a little bit of offseason. So we'll see how quickly, you know, Hurts and Mannion are really in sync and can really line it up here. Obviously, not having A.J. Brown on the team either is going to totally change their philosophy of how they want to push the ball down the field, how they want to emphasize it, all that kinds of stuff. But, yeah, I think that's going to be a fascinating development there to see what Hurts is like in the early weeks, and then how much maybe they can expand the buffet, if you. I couldn't even say like a plate, because it feels like what Mannion is doing is it's going to be multiple plates, and we've all been there before. You go to a buffet, it's not just one plate, right? You didn't pay for that. You paid for multiple.
3 sides
plates.
minimum, baby.
Correct.
I'm gonna throw the go ball this time. We gotta take what they give us.
Let's move on to the next question here, because we got a couple more that we really want to get to. This one's from Anthony. He said, I would love an episode about unheralded game changers, such as defensive tackles that steal a gap and fundamentally change how defenses operate, or blocking tight ends that changes the complexion of the run game. Yeah, I mean, this is a fascinating question, and to be honest with you, I think that everyone in the football world that follows NFL football specifically wants the answer to this question, Brett, right? Not just fans, but also coaches, right? Coaches are trying to figure out, okay, what is the, next little margin that we can steal here and there, and a lot of times it is in the run game because we were in such a pass heavy league over the last 4 or 5 years, it felt like, especially when quarterbacks were really tearing up single high defenses when that was in vogue. And now we've moved more towards, okay, now a lot of teams are basically playing these 2 high defenses because we're trying to slow down these alien quarterbacks, and now you're trying to steal a little bit of an advantage somewhere else. I'll start with tight ends because I'm fascinated. Just as a draft guy, I'm so fascinated at the emphasis, I think, on the position in free agency, but also in the draft, right? I think that a lot of people, myself included, were freaking out about the Nate Borkercher selections, when he was taken.
With the 56th pick in the 2026 NFL Draft, the Jacksonville Jaguars select Nate Borkercher, tight end, Texas A&M.
I remember your reaction. That was great.
Right? Yeah, I was. I might pay for that one, but hey, I've said before, if it works out, then I'm going to be the first one to be like, okay, that was awesome, because I love when general managers can zag when everybody else is zigging, and obviously it works out for them. But tight end feels like one of those positions where you're really gaining an advantage. 2 guys that I want to point out here that are game changers in the run game: Jackson Hawes for the Buffalo Bills and Charlie Kolar. When you look at NGS, highest run rate when these players are on the field, minimum 300 snaps. Jackson Hawes at 74.6%. Charlie Kolar at 71.1%. So it's almost like these teams know they're not really fooling anybody. They're just ready to execute. Like, that's it. And I think for both of these tight ends, you look at things, especially in the red zone, the heavier you can get in the red zone while also still remaining a little bit of a passing threat, that is a thing of beauty, right? And I think
if you go back 2 years ago in Buffalo, they were one of the top teams, might have even been the top team in terms of usage of 6 offensive linemen on the field. They really loved having that extra OT because, no disrespect to the existing Bills tight ends at the time, they weren't getting it done as blockers in the run game, so they really liked having 6 offensive linemen on the field. And then they get Jackson Hawes, and magically they just stop doing it, right? I think we might see a similar thing with Houston this year. They were a big 6 offensive lineman team last year because their existing tight ends, again, no disrespect to Dalton Schultz, if you're looking at the cut-ups of Dalton Schultz run blocking, not exactly ideal. Now you draft Marlon Klein, who's this big, strong tight end out of Michigan. They think he can be a true Y for them. Maybe that'll impact the 6 offensive line rate in Houston. And that might have also just been a contributing factor to all these teams drafting tight ends. Like, one of the most tight end heavy drafts I've ever seen, and I've covered this for a long time.
With the 59th pick for the Houston Texans, they select Marlon Klein, tight end, University of Michigan.
I think it's because a lot of teams realized that these, not small, but more slender tight ends that are basically just big slot receivers, like, they're not getting it done in the run game. We got to draft real wide tight ends, and they were flying off the board. Yeah, I mean, the game, it's math. Like, this entire sport is math. I mean, going back to the RPO thing, deciding whether to give it or give it off to the running back or throw the screen, it's literally a math equation. Do I have a numbers advantage outside or inside? And when you have a defensive tackle that gives you a math advantage in the box, like if you can have even numbers in the box, but not really, because one guy is worth 1.5, sometimes even 2, if it's like a crazy elite DT, then you're winning the math equation every single snap, and that's going to really cascade into longer downs and distances.
Typically, most people would just look at it and say it's a lighter grouping, but they are really able to impose their will and dictate the terms. And it's why they're arguably, the best defense in the league.
For a lot of DCs, how they get to 3rd and long doesn't matter, but their goal is to get to 3rd and long, because the average conversion rate of, say, 3rd and 1 to 3 is, quote unquote, relatively high. And then 3rd and medium is lower. 3rd and long falls off a cliff. Like, you just need to get to 3rd and 7 plus by whatever means necessary. And for a lot of teams now, especially the ones that are playing mostly nickel, it's, I need to have a defensive tackle that I can put at a 2-eye
Yep.
2-eye meaning lined up on the inside shoulder of the guard. That's different than a 1 technique, which is lined up on the shoulder of the center, right? So if you're looking at a 2-eye, I need somebody who can be there. Doesn't matter body type. We're looking for skill set. They need to win that one-on-one with the guard, specifically in the run game. And if we can stop the run, statistically speaking, we're going to get to 3rd and long more often. And as long as we're like an average defense on 3rd and long, we're going to get off the field a lot, give ourselves more possessions. So I want to show you what this looks like using 2 different body types, 2 different eras even, because this is not a new thing. This transcends era. This is Pat Williams from 2006. You guys remember the Williams Wall? Basically led the NFL in having the best run defense for a half decade straight, having Pat Williams and Kevin Williams there. This is Pat Williams lined up as a 2-eye, again, on the inside shoulder of the guard. The reason why they put him there and the reason why offenses hate the 2-eye is because it forces a one-on-one through alignment. When you have a defensive tackle at a 2-eye, the center is not really going to combo this. He might give you a little jab, he might give you a little hand, but they're not really going to do a true combo. He's going to trust, this is a tall order against Pat Williams, he's going to trust the guard to win the one-on-one. If he was lined up on the center shoulder, okay, now we're going to combo this thing because he's kind of more in between us. But if he's more shaded to the guard, that's going to be a one-on-one by design. Defenses know that. So they're going to put him there to force that one-on-one. And when the center just gives that little jab and says, good luck, buddy, I'm going to go up to the linebacker, the guard gets completely trampled by Pat Williams, turns into a TFL. That is why that spot matters. And the fact that Pat Williams, who I think was listed at 315, but let's be honest, I think it was like 335.
I was going to say, this is spelled 315. That's a skinny 315
I think they were
right there.
screwing with us listing him at 315. But, if you look at Byron Murphy, who is a legit 310-ish, on his best day, the Seahawks last year did the same thing with him. Why? Because it transcends body type. It's more about skill set. And Byron Murphy is incredibly hard to uproot. He might be the lightest nose tackle I've ever seen, but you can put him at that 2-eye. He's going to win that one-on-one. He's going to get us TFLs, and he's going to get us into 3rd and long, which is where we could do all the crazy, stunts and blitzes that Seattle likes to do. Bada bing, bada boom. We're the, best defense in the NFL. That specific spot is worth everything to a defense, and the fact that you have edge rushers paid $50 million a year to win on 3rd down, but they're not actually getting to 3rd down without those guys is a total injustice to me.
Yeah. Dude, I remember when Murphy was coming out of Texas, one of the best corkscrew technique undersized, quote-unquote undersized nose tackles I've ever scouted. It was just so unbelievable how he was able to control the line of scrimmage. So he had the explosiveness, but also the run defense stuff. So
all we got to do, go out there, dominate, and be us, bro. Be us, man.
This show is going to be coming to you guys during the season, twice a week, so make sure you subscribe to the channel because we would love to have you every single show, every single week. Our season preview show, September 4th, that's when that's coming to you, and normally these episodes are going to be somewhere around an hour, maybe a little bit less, but that season preview show, Brett, you know how it goes. We got a lot of things to cover. We're going to be talking about, of course, what a lot of people are talking about with the season awards, how we think the teams are going to do, who's going to win the Super Bowl, all that great stuff, but hopefully you could tell from this show, we're going to get a lot more into the weeds, what personnel and what trends and everything that we think could be happening in the 2026 season. We're going to look at some old faces and new places there with some teams. We're going to talk about some secret superstars, all that great stuff. So make sure you guys tuning in on September 4th. Appreciate you watching this first episode of the NFL Pro Show. For everybody behind the camera making it happen, for Brett Kollmann, I'm Trevor Sikkema saying, we'll see you on the next episode.